right, well, today we are back to work on my supercharged mini jet boat here. So the goal is to finish up the last few odds and ends to get this thing truly water ready, and then take it down to the river and test it out and see what this thing's got. I am really excited to start enjoying this thing. The weather is so nice. It's a perfect time of year. So I'm hustling, we're gonna get this done, and we're gonna take this thing out on the water. So first things first, we obviously have to finish the few projects we have left. So one of the largest things that we need to do is replacing a number or all of these hoses. They're all kind of in rough shape. The hose clamps are corroded, and I just don't want to take any chances on one of those bursting and then filling the hole full of water while trying to cool the engine. It would not be ideal. So we're going to do that. We also got with the boat a sand trap. So this is a perfect time to install this in our cooling system while we're in there replacing and changing hoses anyway. So basically the coolant's going to flow through here, and this will capture the sand because we are going to be boating in the river and shallow areas. It's going to be sand that gets sucked up, and this will help separate it from the coolant that's going through the rest of the engine. So we got that. I also went ahead and got another bilge pump. This is a 750 gallon per hour. We have an 1100 in there. We're going to put this in the other side just as kind of a precautionary measure. These boats being aluminum and having a bunch of holes in them from the plastic sheeting and all of that, they're going to take on some water, and if that pump were to clog up, that would, at least we have a second pump to take over in that situation. So yeah, we got that. We got a bit to do, but we're gonna get it done so we can take this thing out on the water and start enjoying it. I'm so eager, but I know if I put the time in now, it'll be worth it in the end. That's the same way I build my race cars, is I try to put the extra time in here in the shop so that I spend less time working on them when we're at the track. In this case, when we're at the river. So that being said, let's start with the bilge pump, see if we can't find a good spot for this, get it mounted, get it wired up. All right, guys, before we get too deep into today's video, I wanted to talk to you about today's video sponsor, Factor. So I am a huge fan of Factor, and it's for a reason, because eating, as silly as it sounds, can be stressful. You know, I'm out here, I'm working in the shop, and I'm looking at the time, like, what time do I need to finish to have time to, you know, get showered, get ready, and then go get food while places are still open. And then I start running out of time, and I'm trying to rush, and then I literally have to plan a whole day around making enough time at the end of the day to go to the grocery store and then go get a bunch of ingredients, and then things get busy again. I don't have time to cook, and then all of a sudden half or more of the stuff that I bought just goes bad, which feels wasteful and is a waste of money. It's just all bad. And even with takeout, half the time I'm worried about what time I'm finishing to get the takeout, and it is insanely expensive. So Factor basically eliminates all of that. I don't have to deal with any of it. I get these fresh, delicious, never frozen meals delivered right to my door, and they're ready in 2 minutes. So whenever I'm ready to eat, within 2 minutes of that time point, I have a delicious meal. And you know, they do such a great job curating their meals and different flavors, and I feel good after I eat them. It's just all good things. It literally checks all the boxes and is the only eating of any type that I have found that checks all the boxes. And that's why I'm so passionate about it, because prior to Factor, I really thought there was no option out there, no foolproof option out there that ticked all the boxes. And then when I found Factor, I was like, this is it. You know, this is everything I've always wanted in one service. So it's great. I would highly recommend trying it out just firsthand for yourself. See what you think, and then report back. Let me know what you think. So if you are interested in trying it out for yourself, head to factor75.com or click the link down below to get 50% off your first Factor box, as well as 20% off for your next month of orders. So it is a really good deal, really good way to try it out. Get into the habit, introduce it to your daily routine, see how much time it saves you and how much stress it saves you, and you'll probably never look back, just like I didn't. So that being said, huge shout out to Factor for sponsoring today's video. But we got a lot of work to do, so we need to get to it. So my original plan was to build a little step bracket, because this is going to bolt on, you know, basically we'll take this off and then screw it down to the bottom of whatever we're mounting it to. So basically a little bracket that we can bolt to the stringer and then set this down in the lowest part, but I don't think there's enough room. I think we might have to just kind of squish it in there if we want to get it down as far as possible. Our water is going to come in here, and I got this. Kind of going to depend on where we mount it. I went with all stainless fittings because this is stainless. I'm trying to keep it nice and so they don't corrode. But yeah, so probably something like that, hose coming in, and then lastly, that's going to be out. So basically we should have in from the jet drive, out to the intercooler basically, out of that, and then to the cooling system. But basically we need a large hose out and we have a small hose in. So this works out really well. Now we just got to decide exactly where we want to mount it. I've had a couple of ideas, but I don't love any of them. So I think I've got my mind set on one though. All right, so here, oof, is that even gonna clear though? Here's the simplest place for it because it gives us enough room to get in here, you know, put something under there to drain it or run a drain hose somewhere. It gives us room to access everything, take it out, clean it. Problem with it being here is the line's gotta come from basically the center of the boat over here and then literally to the other side of the boat. It's a small boat, it's not that far, so I don't know how big of a deal that is. The other spot would be back here. I have to build up a little bracket for it like that, but then it's pretty much completely inaccessible if I put it there. It's also kind of sitting on the cable, and I think this is gonna be my best bet. Drill some holes, through bolt it, party on. All right, let's see if that clears. It's hitting. Yeah, it's the shock. Ooh, that's an option. I mean, it's kind of touching, but that's a shot. I think that might be our best option. Boom, sand trap. So I bought this for you toes years ago now. So it's probably not in the best condition, but you know, we'll give it a shot. Yeah, that'll work. All right, sand trap is placed. Pretty happy with that location. I've got the first hose, the inlet hose done. So next is gonna be this guy from here all the way over there to the intercooler. So I've got a bunch of hose. I got 1 inch. I'm hoping, I can't tell if it's too big or not. And then this should be 3/4. Then this is 5/8 and this is 1/2 inch. And then I have 3/8. So hopefully between all of these, we have enough hose to do this. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and just start working on that hose and then just plug my way through one by one. So this one is gonna be the next one. So I started working on pulling this large hose out, and these are basically the largest hoses in this cooling system. And I realized quickly that I was wrong. It was not 1 inch inner diameter hose. It was 3/4, but it was just really thick compared to the replacement hose that I got. So luckily I should have enough. I got a little bit extra of every hose size just to make sure I didn't have to make a return trip to the parts store. There's nothing worse than when you're hustling and moving and grooving on a project and then you got to stop to spend 30-40 minutes to go to the parts store to grab one small thing. So once I got that hose done from the sand trap into the intercooler, it then comes from the intercooler to the exhaust, which I think is kind of odd, but this is where things get a little bit rusty and crusty. So far, the hose clamps have been easy to deal with, but these not so much. They used non-stainless hose clamps, and they are just corroded solid. This one is actually the problematic hose that kind of prompted this whole project. So both of these run under the drive shaft together. So I wanted to get them both out at the same time before routing the other one. There's no way of mixing them up because they're different sizes. So after I fought with another rusted stuck hose clamp, managed to get both hoses out, and then we can start routing our new hoses up onto the drive shaft while taking some time to inspect some things and finding some other problems. All right, so these are the old hoses so far. You can see this hose clamp is completely seized on there. The other one was okay. This hose, this was the one that was leaking when we did take this out for a water test before I bought it, and both of its clamps are seized and leaky, so it's a good thing we're replacing all these. The other thing with these Sea-Doos is they have this carbon seal on the drive shaft, and it's really important that it's in good condition. It keeps water from coming in. And mine, I noticed a little bit of carbon dust in a ring around where it is, so I took a look at it, and it's still okay, but it's just worn a little bit unevenly. So I think the engine height needs to be adjusted. The carbon seal is up, so it's wearing the bottom more than the top. But we're gonna start with the hoses. I ordered the tool to do the carbon seal, so we'll do the hoses first and then we'll see about that. Replace all the hoses and make sure those aren't leaking, and then if we are still having water get in leaking, we know it's the carbon seal. So after spending a bit of time inspecting that carbon seal, like I said, I don't have the utmost confidence in it, but I'm hoping it's in good enough condition to get us by for now. And again, we won't really know until we've got all the hose leaks themselves fixed, if there's any water coming in and where it's coming from. So we forged ahead with replacing these hoses. As I said, they're so crusty. Even if they weren't leaking, this is something that I think is worth doing because any one of these could decide to leak at any moment. And with those rusty hose clamps, we couldn't even tighten them up if we wanted to. So I went ahead and started working on these last few lower hoses, more corroded, stuck hose clamps, but we've got a method now for getting them off, so that makes it a little bit easier. But we're plugging away one by one. Luckily, we did get enough hose and the right sizes of hose. I just kind of guesstimated how much we would need based on how many of each size there were, and really the biggest thing is just routing them in a way that they're out of harm's way. They're not going to rub on anything that's spinning or away on anything that gets hot, but also trying to keep them from kinking, because if we had one that was bound up like that, then we're not going to get good water flow and we're going to have temperature problems. So it's one of those projects that's pretty simple and pretty straightforward, but also just absolutely critical to this thing functioning correctly because it's the entire cooling system. So I get the last few hoses in place. I'm a little short on stainless hose clamps, but for the most part, we had everything we needed. All right, well, I have officially replaced all of the hoses, even these back here, which aren't actually coolant hoses. That's our exit, basically. That's our inlet, so it goes in there, up into the sand trap, out of the sand trap, to the intercooler, out of the intercooler to the exhaust, oddly enough, out of the exhaust into that port down there, and then out of the engine up here, over to this little heat exchanger here, and then out of that, and then out the exit there. So they're all gone. They're all done. So I just need to toss that bilge pump in, and then it's time to take this thing for a test ride. I'm a little nervous still about that carbon seal. We'll cross that bridge when we get there, but I want to test it with all the hoses fixed and see where we're at. So installing this bilge pump wasn't something I was thrilled about because I had a whole plan on how to mount it, and I realized that is not going to work, and now it's just, I have a hard time doing things what I feel like is halfway. But in this scenario, in theory, we should never have to use this bilge pump. It should never come on. It should never even be a factor. The only time it should be a factor is if the other bilge pump quits working and we take on so much water that it raises up to the level to activate this one. So ideally, when we do the carbon seal, we'll get in there and kind of cut a notch for it to get it down low so that it's working as often as the other one. But for now, again, just a backup plan. So I get it mounted in there. We get the wiring hooked up, so basically it's automatic. There's a float. It'll come on if there's enough water for it to need to come on, and it'll have power whenever the kill switch is on. So all automatic, don't even have to think about it. So once that was done, it's mounted, it's wired. All we got to do is drill another big hole in the side of this thing so that we can mount our bulkhead for the water to come out of. At least this is more of a permanent thing. Ideally, we'll make the bilge pump itself a little better later. All right, bilge pump is in. We got our bulkhead there, we got our hose there, going down to our bilge pump there. It's wired in. I have tested it. If we turn the kill switch on and I do the little test to raise the float, it starts pumping. So we got 2 bilge pumps, we got all new hoses. The only thing we haven't replaced is the carbon seal. So I think we're ready to test this thing out. I've got all my safety gear, got my life jacket, I got first aid kit, I've had the fire extinguisher in here. I've got some ropes, oh, those don't belong in there. Ropes for towing or tying up to the beach, got a paddle, got a throwable, got an air horn in there somewhere, right there, yep, air horn. Got my boater safety license re-downloaded. I think we're good to go. I think we're legal. And I think I have confidence in everything but the carbon seal at this point. So if it takes on a bunch of water, we know we got to replace the carbon seal sooner than later. So I guess tomorrow we ride at dawn. Probably not dawn, but tomorrow we'll take this thing to the river and see what it's got.
Jeez.
Do the kill switch.
Moving. Stand to the side.
All right.
Stand to the side.
In reverse.
She fires up, just make your way and start going up that way. Just
Yeah,
easy,
I'll go slow.
Easy with her.
Yeah.
It don't matter, hey.
It's not running right. I was like full throttle and it was barely even trying to get up on plane.
Did you have the trim down or up?
The trim doesn't work, but you could hear it, like it was misfiring. Like it was like,
That's why it's called shakedown.
right?
We're trying to water and see what we got.
It's like, it feels like it's misfiring.
Go get your truck. We're going to load this up, back it in. You got to ride the other ski.
All right.
Right, Dawson? See, man, he ain't messing up the whole party, dude. We still going to do the party, right?
Let me try it. Let me just take it right over there again if you wait here, and I'll see if it'll clear itself out.
Fan of your videos.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I'm going to try to run it again real quick and see if it clears up any, and then go from there. Because when I bought it, we didn't get to do a good water test because one of the hoses is leaking. Before I put this thing back on the trailer, might as well try again.
Wait, nice meeting you.
Yeah, you too.
See your videos.
Thank you. Oh, my croc's falling.
Listen, he's got the wrong shoes on his side. Hey, you know what?
Well, that's why you should put your,
Look, no, the All-American.
I know, I should not have worn Crocs. All right, give me a big push and I'll wait to start it till we get out there.
But start it at least.
Well, as soon as I start trying to go forward.
You ain't got no reverse?
Well, when I put it in reverse is when the...
Spray?
Yeah.
You just got to get your umbrella, cousin. All right, so if it don't start, go on your own.
It'll start, it'll
Tell
start.
him, Jossie, you're out of here.
So I started using some of the factory buttons to go through the menu options and see if maybe there was some setting I needed to change or see if there was any engine codes. And a couple did pop up and I had the numbers, but I didn't really have any way of searching them. So I'm just gonna try to ride it a little bit and see if it clears up on its own. it sideways.
Hey, but it came to life a little bit.
Yeah, no, it was good after that.
Yeah, maybe.
I was checking, I put the buttons for the code stuff down here,
Yeah.
and it said it had some code. Good spot.
Yeah. Get away, breathe the air. Pick up some seashells.
Yep, definitely need to change that carbon seal though, for sure.
Yeah, that's where she's leaking from.
Yeah.
First and foremost.
I mean, at least it's got all fresh hoses, so.
Well, that's good. That means I'm ready. Ready?
Yeah, hold on. Oh yeah, yep, I'm good. So after I submarined it a little bit and splashed my camera, the camera stopped recording. But pretty much right after that, we were getting ready to head back to the dock, and it started beeping at me with a high temperature warning. So basically it overheated. So I basically coasted it back into the beach because it goes into pretty much limp mode. Let it cool off. I checked the cooling system. I couldn't really find anything obvious wrong with it. So we decided to just haul back to the ramp and hope for the best. Okay, all right. We're off.
I'm going to turn you and I'm pushing you around.
Yeah, and that way I can just push straight out.
There you go.
Oh, come on. Oh, it's reading the key. Come on, buddy. So I realized pretty much immediately that I had not turned the accessory kill switch back on, which means the bilge pumps aren't going to be working and the chart plotter wasn't working, but I didn't have far to go to the ramp, so I decided to just stay on plane and not risk coming off plane and then getting a high temperature warning and not being able to pull off anywhere. So we're basically just going to try to get all the way back and then hope for the best. So I'm trying to see what rough speed I'm going because I'm not really sure what speed this thing comfortably cruises at. And then I wanted to check out the rooster tail from the jet drive and see if there's anything going on there that could give me an indication as to why this thing wanted to overheat so quickly. And also trying to make it back to the dock without sinking from no bilge pump and without overheating. But it seems like it's fine as long as we're cruising. It's just the hard ripping that's the problem. I'm not too worried about making it back, but I do want to make it back. get back to shore. All right, well, we're off. We got the boat behind us in tow. You cannot see it in the mirrors. Let's see. There we go, backup cam. Got the boat. A little bit of a mishap. I may have lost my camera, so I'll explain more of the little bit of problems we had. Overall, it ripped, but got a couple things to address, and so we decided to put the boat on the trailer, kind of fact-finding mission. We figured out what we needed to figure out. If it's gonna happen out there, which it did. But anyway, we put the boat back on the trailer and we went out on my neighbor Anthony's skis, and I was just about to take my camera off the front. I had it kind of clamped on there and it fell off into the water. So lost one whole camera's worth of footage, but we had a good time. We rode the skis all the way down pretty much to the other boat ramp, which is pretty far, and it was great. It was real nice riding the skis. I had fun riding the boat, and we know what we need to fix. So I'm heading home, and I'll explain more once we get there. But nice day of riding for sure. All right, well, we got the boat tucked back away in here. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how this thing did. I really just wanted to get it out on the water and experience it for myself, see if we had any other issues, all that. And in that sense, it was a success. You know, when we first left the dock and this thing was kind of breaking up and felt like it was maybe down a cylinder, I was like, man, I just wanted to get a rip in and just feel what this thing's gonna be like, because I advocate for that a lot. If you have a big project, try to get it to a point where you can enjoy it a little bit and go enjoy it, because one, it'll teach you what you need and what you don't need. You might think you need something that you don't really need and go down this rabbit hole. But two, it'll at a bare minimum give you motivation. And I just wanted to feel this thing and see what it was capable of to give me that motivation to really dial it in. And now I have that motivation because I had a blast, you know, and luckily, I went back out again, and after a little bit, it cleared up. And I know the gas is a little bit old because it was sitting for a bit before I got it. So it seemed to clear up. I had put some fresh gas in it, and it ran fine the rest of the time. So that's good. Good news number one. As we suspected when we changed the hoses, carbon seal for sure absolutely needs to be replaced. Wanted to do it anyway, was hoping I could maybe sneak by for a little while riding it like this, but we got to fix that and realign it. Luckily, I'm pretty sure the engine needs to go up, which is a lot easier than if it needed to go down. So it shouldn't be too bad. Take the intercooler piping off, pull the carbon seal, put a new one on, realign the engine, party on. But other than that, and then the overheating thing, we do need to sort that out. I want to investigate a little further in the cooling system. It could be that the pump's cavitating because the carbon seal is leaking, and then that's, you know, preventing us from getting good coolant flow through the engine. Could be like a water pump thing. I don't know. I need to do a little more investigation there. That was definitely odd because when I was just cruising down the river, it did fine. It had no issues. But it was when I was doing 360s and jumping waves and really just ripping on it, you know, full throttle, start, stop is when it got hot. So, you know, that could be it. I don't know. I might try to add like an aftermarket temp gauge in it. That might be handy. Obviously, not perfect, but I didn't expect it to be. That's part of buying the cheapest boat you can find that fits the criteria. You're gonna have to work on it, and I don't mind. I'm just glad that we got to enjoy it. I had a great time. I'm really glad my neighbor was able to go. It just, a lot more confidence inspiring knowing there's at least someone there to try to tow you back if you had an issue, because if the engine died and like it was taking on a bunch of water, and the bilge pump quit working or something, would be SOL. So we had a great time on the jet skis. Just being out on the water, it makes me appreciate Florida so much more, and it makes me just so much more excited that I have a boat. Like, it's just such a nice reset. It's such a similar to car things, you know, motors, noise, and speed, but different, very relaxing. It was a good reset. I had a great time. So I'm pretty happy with the boat overall, but again, we still got some work to do, and now we know exactly what we need to do to sort this thing out further. But that being said, we have plenty of other projects to work on, so I'm gonna order some parts. We'll shelve this thing for now, And we'll get back to work on it soon. But let me know what you guys think of the boat and any suggestions you have on upgrades and stuff we should probably change. And other than that, I'll see you next time for the next set of projects. We got a ton of stuff in every direction. So I'll see you for that. But for now, that's it. So thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Goodbye. Oh, also, before I throw these away, look at these, our old hoses here. It's definitely satisfying when you replace parts and you're like, yeah, it definitely needed to be replaced. Look at all that corrosion. That's a brass fitting, but look at all that corrosion. So glad we did that at least. Okay, goodbye for real.